Okay, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to Universal Teas. It's the People's Podcast with your girl, Toya. And this episode is called Beautiful Bridges Part 2. And so I actually have the honor of also hosting some students from Carroll University here. So shout out to you all for coming. I have my parents and my brother here from Chicago. I have some new faces in the building. And so I'm really excited to get into this talk and this conversation. The way that I came up with not Universal Bridges, child. That's not it. What's the name of this episode? Beautiful Bridges. The way that I came up with that episode title is because when I think about bridges, they get us across something. And I'm going to read the definitions because I'm a definition girl in a second. But the talk is about opening your mind up to get to connect with people who are different from you, whether they look different, whether they come from a different background, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, because the whole core of Universal Teas is just tapping into what is universal about us and not what's different. So all of us at some point or another have felt maybe left out or like somebody didn't hear us, they didn't see us, they didn't really feel where we were coming from. And we have to really open ourselves up to build bridges, because if we only associate with what we know is close to us, that bridge is very short. But if you want to grow and expand who you are and what you become, you have to build bridges with people who look different, because that's open-mindedness, right? Another thing that we tend to do just out of human nature is we have natural biases, okay? And we don't want to admit those. We might say, I'm not biased. You are. Because you might say you like steak tacos versus chicken tacos, and you ain't got no good reason. That's bias. So there's a bias right there, you know? And so being aware of your biases is how you, again, build bridges. We are humans. We mess up. We love people, but that doesn't mean that we won't hurt them, okay? Sometimes you mess up with a person and you have to repair that bridge. You might have to go on there, get your hammer and your nail, put your hard cap on, and have a difficult conversation to repair that bridge. And then some people are just not good for us, no matter how much we love them, and we got to set some fire to that bridge. We got to let it burn and cry about it later, and then you're going to rejoice about it in the long run, right? So that's how I came up with this episode, and that's what I want to get into. And I got my talking cards because I be forgetting what I'm talking about sometimes mid-convo. So that's what this is. Don't mind me, okay? So, beautiful bridges. The first thing that I want to talk about is what is a bridge, okay? So, by definition, a bridge is a structure constructed for the purpose of providing passage over the obstacle, which is something otherwise difficult or impossible to cross. So, there are a couple words in that definition of a bridge that stood out to me. One, there's an obstacle. There's an obstacle that needs to be gotten over, and I was about to be a teacher. I think I still will. When we think about bridges, where do we typically see bridges built? What's the obstacle? Water, right? So, baby, I could swim a little piece, but I can't swim the distance of the Brooklyn Bridge. I cannot. So that obstacle is the water that's underneath. The bridge is how I get across it, right? Another word that stood out in that definition is something that is otherwise difficult or impossible to cross. If we didn't build bridges with people, if we didn't build connections with people, we probably wouldn't get across to certain things. If I didn't sit down as a black woman and have a conversation with some white women or Indian women, they might have ideas that were an obstacle for me. But if I didn't have the courage to build that bridge, I wouldn't get over that obstacle because I was so stuck on what was at the beginning of the bridge for me. So building bridges is something that's so impactful in getting us where we want to go, because you never know what someone else can give you. And that's not to say every bridge is going to be the one you need to cross. Because, baby, you cross some bridges. Y'all know them little bridges that be like rickety at like the carnival. Baby, that ain't the bridge you need to be on. I need you to get off that one and maybe get a sturdier one. But be open. Open-mindedness is how we get there, right? And so what I said was we have to have acknowledgement of the obstacle, but we can't fall victim to it. So when the people built the Brooklyn Bridge or the Golden State Bridge, like the basketball team, because y'all know basketball season coming up, but when they built those bridges, they saw the obstacle, They saw what was on the other side, but they didn't see that obstacle and say, actually, that's not for me. They were like, actually, we need to build a bridge to get there. So when we talk about building bridges, we're talking about overcoming obstacles and not falling victim to them. You can say, I grew up in poverty. There's no way I can make money. Or you can say, I grew up in poverty. I see some people making money. I need to build a bridge to get to that side. So it's all about mindset shift. It can be like, I am this person who has this belief. Like, yeah, that person may be gay, but their mind is beautiful. I need to build a bridge with them. And when you build bridges with people who are different from you, you don't take on who they are. That's fraud. Don't be trying to steal people's identities. Y'all go to jail for that. It just means that you are aware and you are honing in on what you need and how you can collaborate and facilitate that with other people. Amen? Yes? All right. So then I was like, if we're talking about bridges, I said we need to be focused on a solution to get over the obstacle, not be focused on what's underneath the bridge or in the middle. If I'm focused on the fact that I cannot swim, I would not need to know, or I would not have the light bulb go off to build a boat to get over the water. I wouldn't have the light bulb to go off to phone a friend to help me build a bridge. If I am focused on the fact that I cannot swim, every time I see water, even though what I want is on the other side of that water, on the other side of that river, even though I want to figure out how far out the sunset goes, if I'm focused on the fact that I can't swim in that water and I don't realize that, hey, this person can help me build a boat. This person is a constructor. Is that the right term? Constructor? Construction worker? Y'all know what they be doing, the people that be constructing, them. If I didn't realize that, and I was like, that person is a construction worker, but he's Hispanic. So I never talked to a Hispanic person before, so that ain't gonna work. Instead of saying the goal is to get across this water on this boat, so baby, I need somebody with a hammer and a nail and a hard hat, and I ain't got it. So opening yourself up to building bridges is what helps to alleviate that. You can't focus on the struggle. Acknowledge what the problem is. Acknowledge what you struggle with. Acknowledge what you lack. But put your focus on getting to the other side of that, not on what's in the middle. Yes? All right, y'all better have said something. Also, my friends who just came in, if you all are inclined to speak, please just walk up to the mic. I know y'all eating or whatever. I ain't going to interrupt y'all. But if you are shy and you're an introvert and you like, I don't know these people, I ain't getting on no microphone, there's some little notes there. You can write your comment. And my two friends in the back, just hold them up and they'll speak for you, okay? See? So y'all ain't got no reason not to participate today. I'm a teacher. I'm going to figure out some participation methods, all right? Okay, so when we talk about building bridges, that's the first thing that I want to speak to, because I talked about, we're going to touch on building bridges, repairing bridges, and burning bridges. So when we talk about building bridges, you first have to make up your mind and be clear and confident about your vision that's on the other side. Going across an obstacle is scary. If I know I can't swim, jumping in Lake Michigan is scary. But if I'm clear of what my life is going to look like on the other side, if I'm clear about what that business plan is going to look like on the other side, if I'm clear about passing that test at finals, and I know that this student that is not a part of the same organization as me is a guru at it, baby, we're going to have a conversation, okay? And we're going to figure out how to get me to the other side, to get me across that stage, you know what I'm saying? My college experience, I was a first-generation college student, and I paid out-of-state tuition, and it wasn't always an easy thing, but my goal was to get across the stage within 4 years. So I was at every advisor's office like, sis, we need to find me some money because not graduating is not an option. The difficult part was not having the money in my hand, but my focus was on getting across the stage. So whatever I need to do, I worked all 4 years I was in college. And so we have to open ourselves up to doing the work to get to the other side. Something else that I want to mention is when you're thinking about the vision for what you want on the other side of the bridge that you're trying to build, this can be a new opportunity that you want. This can be a new relationship. If you was eyeing somebody that's in your chemistry class, or you know what I'm saying, or I'm just saying, Or if you know what I'm saying, you've been in this little study group and, Adam from the study group is, he's smart and he a little cute and he on the soccer team. He might play basketball or something. You know what I'm saying? Or it could be another version of yourself. I don't know about y'all, but a lot of the work I do is on me because, I be cute or whatever, but I be needing some work. So it can be a version of yourself. If I want to be successful, if I want to be financially free, if I want to be completely independent, if I want to be mentally sane and healthy, I have to focus on that, not the things that are struggling. There you go, friend. Not the obstacles that I'm struggling to overcome with my mental health, and not the obstacles that I feel like I run into in relationships that I have. I have to focus on the better part of me. Because now it's like, maybe I do need to go to therapy. Maybe I do need to call my friend and have a conversation. Maybe I do need to sit down and journal a little bit. No, I ain't never really seen a whole lot of people where I'm from do that. But I know that it's necessary because at the end of the day, it's me. I'm the only person that I wake up with every single day. So I have to be okay with that person. And that is my goal. So whatever it takes for me to wake up every day and look in the mirror, I don't know if y'all ever watch Insecure, but y'all be seeing her little pep talks in the mirror where it be like, you, girl, you smart, you cute. You know what I'm saying? I be rapping, you know what I'm saying? When I was in college, I used to be a little rapper. I used to call myself T-Shy, but that was only like, because, T-Shy Toya from Chicago, so it works. You know what I'm saying? My friends hated it because every time we would go out, I would start rapping and they would sick of me. But either way, I thought I was fire. But at that point in time, I could hype myself up in the mirror. So when you're talking about building a bridge, it can be a bridge to the best version of yourself. You're not always building a bridge to get to somewhere or something, or there's not this, hey, people in the chat, I forgot about y'all, hey. So there's not always this grandiose thing that you're going to get to. Sometimes when you realize you got to the best version of yourself, it's when you wake up and you feel peace. And you like, I ain't stressed out. What's going on, Jesus? Is this okay? So you have to know and understand that sometimes you're building a bridge to a better you. And that's the work that is the most important, if you ask me. You might be trying to start a business. You might be working on a project. You might be also building a bridge in friendship. And I'm going to tell y'all my own business. That's one bridge that I've been trying to work at and repair. It's just friendship. And not that I do it bad, but I don't like talking. So hey, friend, you better snap. So my friends know that I'm not going to call you every day, sis. But if you call me, I'm going to answer. Or even if I don't answer, I'm going to text you like you good, what you need. So knowing that I also have to be open to do that with friends. And I've had situations recently where that didn't work for some friends that I had. And so now I'm trying to reevaluate how to show up for other people. So you have to be able to open yourself up in a multitude of ways to build those bridges with different people, yes. And remember, this microphone is here for you. Feel free to use it. I'm getting a little, All right. Next, not everyone is going to see how far down you have to start building bridges. Sometimes when we are building bridges, think about it like this. When you all see a bridge being built, you're not able to recognize that it's a bridge until it's above the water. Bridges, and I'm thinking about the ones over water because that's the example we gave. When you start to build those bridges, every time I pass over large bridges that cover water, I'm like, yo, I wonder how far down they had to dig to start to build that bridge. I didn't realize they were building the bridge until the structure was above water. Sometimes you are going to feel like you are underwater. In your friendships, in your relationships, in all them classes, with all them notes, and all them study groups. And sometimes you might be underwater with that GPA, but maybe that's just me that one time, that one semester. It's not y'all. Y'all straight A's and everything. But you don't realize that. And so you have to have courage to dig deep. Because every time you dig deep into a friendship, into a relationship, especially when someone has a different belief than you have to understand that you really have to sometimes, because of the biases that we grow up with, my biases are different from every person's bias in this room because my life experiences are different. So sometimes to connect with someone that does not look like me, that I didn't meet growing up, I really have to dig deep into the core of who they are, not what they present as. And sometimes you have to do that within yourself. And then people will start to notice, like, let's say you hang out with somebody that don't look too much like you, or that your family isn't used to seeing you around, or this type of person isn't someone that your family is used to you being with. When they start seeing it, that structure of y'all's relationship or that business that you're trying to build, that's when they're going to start to ask questions, but they have no idea about the work you've been doing a long time before they saw it. And it takes courage to do that work. Because think about it. If I'm going back, I could swim a little bit. So I keep saying, like, if you can't swim, I could swim, but don't ask me to, like, save nobody. I ain't no lifeguard. So I'm thinking about if I was building a bridge underwater. It's not easy. You go underwater. You do what you got to do. You got to come up for air. Allow yourself time when you're building these bridges and you're making these connections to come up for air. You're not always going to understand. It's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to make sense. You are going to want to quit. But you have to remember to come up for air, because if I stay underwater building that bridge, I'm not necessarily used to that. I'm not used to that environment, and that's okay. Learning and building bridges does not mean it's something that you used to. It means it's something that you are willing to take the time to learn. So sometimes you got to come up for air. I need to step away from this conversation. I don't know about y'all. I seen a lot of people fighting when I grew up. But if they probably would have stepped away from that conversation, they wouldn't have had to throw them hands. That's all I'm saying. But sometimes we have to do that within ourselves. We are so hard on ourselves. I am an advocate for everybody that's hard on themselves, because I feel like I'm the number one hard on themselves person. But allow yourself time to come up for air. And also remember that the time that you come up for air from certain situations or certain projects or things that you're working on, it won't be the same time that somebody else comes up for air. They might still be under their grinding when you come up from air. That don't mean you any less than them. That don't mean your journey is any amount of time farther behind theirs. It just means that y'all on different wavelengths, and that's okay. Because if you try to hold your breath while a friend is like, no, I'm grinding, I got this, this is my mode, and that's not where you are, your work gonna be sloppy. It's going to be unintentional. You making stuff up. You need to come up for air, plan how you going to get to it, and then go back underwater until you can build that bridge. Because I promise you, when you are building bridges and people start to notice the structure above the surface, they're going to hit you up. They're going to be like, well, when you decide to do that? No, I've been doing it. The decision was made long ago. Oh, we have a caller. No, just kidding. Hey,
I didn't know how. I didn't know how to walk up.
Go ahead.
So as a recovering people pleaser,
Amen.
I tend to light my entire bridge on fire and then run as fast as I can, instead of graciously letting the bridge fall.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to stop doing that. I don't think you do, and maybe you do, or maybe anyone else does, but like, I'm so tired of just feeling like I have to destroy something to end. Yep, instead of just having enough courage to have a conversation, like maybe this is the end of our friendship or a job or a relationship. I feel like the only way to do that, at least in my world, is to like explode the bridge. So then and then I feel so bad afterwards, because then I'm like, oh, there's so many things I could have done.
Yeah.
So like, any advice or talk around that? That's where I'm at.
So that was a beautiful question, and I'm not the expert. So if any of y'all have any topics, but no, what I would say to go ahead. You gonna come up to the mic, friend? Help her.
I'm just trying to answer a little question.
Go answer the question, because I was about to make some up.
So I don't think I need the mic. Or do I need to talk in the mic for the thing? Do I gotta talk in this?
Yeah, the whole world can hear you.
I don't know. So I think with that, Sawyer, because I sometimes have that issue too, and I think one of the things that we need to do is, like Toya said, like step back and come up from air. I feel like a lot of times when situations blow up big is because we really didn't allow time and space. So you have to allow that time and space for it to just kind of end peacefully, and then if you allow that time and space, it won't be the bad connections, it won't be the flames, it won't be the fire, because we kind of let it sizzle out a little bit and we just kind of step back, because a lot of times we pry and we want to keep figuring out and keep knowing why and keep pushing, and that's like a negative push.
So do you think it's worth it to, like, if you don't have the conversation and you step back and then you just kind of
I'm really mad Cavalier just went upstairs because I'm about to quote her.
Come to the mic. Come, yes, you
Come
do.
to the mic.
The world needs
Come
to hear
to the
all of
mic.
us.
Look, you're not on camera.
Okay, Kanye.
You're not on camera.
I didn't want to be on camera today anyway. I think it still needs to be addressed. You still need to tell that person exactly where they may have wronged you, what they, where they may have made a mistake. I think that's just across the board in general. Even though sometimes we may not want to do it for our own pride because we're like, I don't want to talk to them right now. I don't want to say anything. I still think that it's imperative that they know the error of their ways or where they may have wronged you, because if they don't know, how can they fix it? That's also okay, and I feel like that also could be communicated and expressed as well.
Dang, y'all so mature.
You can say,
Because
hey,
I'm like, baby, we can talk when I see you.
You can say, this is where I'm at in my life right now, and right now our goals and where we are in our lives are not aligning, and that's okay. And maybe, we pursue other things. That doesn't mean that I don't love you. That means that I'm focused on myself and what's important to me. Okay?
That was beautiful. Y'all see? Shout out to y'all. Better snap. My parents over here snapping. So that was cute. I said y'all real mature because I was like, baby, we'll talk when we talk. I don't gotta tell you. Shoot, if we grow apart, we just gonna keep growing. Shoot. Okay. Anyway. But yes, so when you're talking about relationships with people, in different strokes for different folks, right? So some people I'm not, okay, telling y'all my business. I struggle with direct communication and difficult conversations. Believe it or not, people think because I get on the podcast and I be telling them my business that I could tell the people closest to me my business, and no. No. I'm going to wait until you ask me a question. I'm not good at direct communication. I see the value in it, but it takes work. And again, that's something that I'm working on within myself, is that. So thanks, y'all, because y'all didn't help me out a little piece. I'll let y'all know when I have a conversation with some folk that need some conversations. Okay? Those uncomfortable conversations. Hey, Chase. You gonna come up here? Come on. You can come sit by me. Hey, you want to sit by me? Hey. This is my co-host, Chase. Say hi.
Good.
Okay. You gonna help me? Or you gonna go back with your mama? You gonna stay here? Okay. So, you gonna let me know when you... All right. So, when we are talking about bridges, I said once you build a bridge, and that can be scary. How I'm gonna be quiet? This is my show. Boy, you go on back to your mama. Go on. No, you gotta go now. You can't tell her to be quiet. This is her show. So you can't tell me to be quiet. Yeah, boy, it ain't funny. Anyway. Okay, shout out to Chase. Anyway, so when you build bridges, that can sometimes be a little bit uncomfortable because sometimes you feel like you're the only one, and you might be, but there is no shame in building something because this platform for me is so abstract to a lot of people. I'm going to tell y'all a little mini story. I ain't going to go on a tangent. I've been in a lot of spaces where I want to build this into a business, right? And I've been in business networking events and everything like that, and I'm telling them what I do. I like talking to people. I be talking to people and they be feeling it. How can I make some money? And business people are like, that don't make sense to me. And so I would get discouraged because it's like, I shouldn't be doing this. It doesn't make sense to anybody. But the note that I have is that sometimes you won't be the only one on the bridge. You're just the first to start building it. So we have to know and understand that doing something that other people can't necessarily help you start isn't a bad thing. It just means that you're the pioneer. You know what I mean? When we think about people who are considered great, a lot of them did something that other people really weren't doing. But then there was people in the amen section when that structure started to come above the water. You know what I mean? And everybody had ideas and input, and that's not bad. That's not shade. That's just name it, start it, do it, grow it, whatever it is that you want to do. You know what I mean? And so when we think about that, don't be surprised if these are not the people that you're used to, though. So don't be surprised if when you're doing something, people who support you, I've heard this saying all the time, like, people who support you are not always going to be the people that you're used to seeing around you. For example, I have a group full of college students I never met in my life sitting in front of me. And I could have easily been like, man, the people that I was DMing this RSVP link, they ain't show up. Or the people who I thought would come here, they aren't here, but opportunity presents itself. I'm obedient to my calling, and opportunity just comes about. You know what I mean? The last time I did it, I met two young ladies who I really thought my friend knew them. I'm like, oh, your friends came. No, afterwards, I went to talk to them. I was like, oh, my God, my friend invited you. They were like, no, we just happened to stop in here, and you were speaking the truth, and we resonated, so we had to sit down. So knowing and understanding what your calling is and just being obedient to that, you can build around it. Honestly, business might present itself. I just had a conversation with Amy over here, and I was telling her about something that I'm going to tell y'all about at the end of the conversation. And she was like, well, I live in that area if you need help. And I'm like, what ad is there? Because I actually don't like some of the things that come with this. I speak well. I'm not a businesswoman yet. You know, and so finding people who are and being connected to people who are, that's going to benefit me. But if I was so focused on, I don't know what this business stuff means, I probably would have shut down on this gift that I have. So being obedient to that is where I am. Yes? Feel free to join the conversation. Hold up those talking cards and step to the mic. I know you got something to say. The next thing that comes with Bridges is being open-minded. When we talk about being open-minded, that means willing to consider ideas and opinions that are new or different than your own. This does not mean that you're taking on or even agreeing with other people's lifestyles. That's important. Being open-minded, just because you're open to have a conversation with someone that is in a different spectrum than you, does not mean you're taking on that lifestyle. Just because I sit down with somebody from a different sexual orientation, a different gender, a different race, a different financial background than me, that does not mean I'm taking on that identity of them. It just means I'm open to hearing what the person has to say, not the presenter. I'm not focused on who is presented in front of me. I'm focused on the person that they are at their core. So a key to being open-minded is that willing piece. So being willing to. Nobody's going to force you to be open-minded. You can stay in that little box, baby. But we going to be out here in our ark like Noah had built. I'm getting on the ark. It's big. It's a lot of room. I'm getting on the cruise ship. I can kick my feet up. I ain't trying to be in a little box, baby. So whoever I need to talk to, and it takes confidence within yourself. Because if there are parts of your insecurities that you see that that person doesn't have, you almost feel like they see that. And I don't know if that made sense, but when people say other people's reactions or opinions of you have nothing to do with you, but everything to do with their insecurities and the part of them that they are not yet comfortable with. So if somebody tells you you can't do something, it's because they feel like they can't. Or it just means that they've never seen it done before and they don't have the courage to figure out how to do it. But you do. So be conscious of that. Open-mindedness has to do with willingness to consider, not become, not adopt, not develop the same mindset of someone else, but to consider it. And I wish I had the Webster definition of consider, but I don't. But it's not the same thing as adopt or take on. You're just considering it. You're hearing them. Open your ears and close your bias. You know what I'm saying? Think about it as if you're listening to people with your eyes closed. You know, just like this podcast, whoever's listening, you can't see me. Y'all know that I'm a little black woman up here with some glasses on, but just the message is what you need to hear from people. Because also when you listen, and I was just on the phone with my grandma a couple of days ago, and she told me, she said, well, actually, you ain't got to say too much. Because I was like, you don't be feel like talking to people all the time, grandma. She's like, you don't got to, just listen. Just listen. And when you listen to people, you'll know which people you need to respond to. Because if I'm listening to something long enough and you sound crazy, I know good and well I ain't even got to respond to you. I'm going to just walk away. But if I'm listening to people, again, with my eyes closed, and you're saying some things that resonate with you, I know that this is an open space for communication. You know what I mean? So just this provides, like I said, space for openness, awareness, and the possibility of understanding. You do got to come to the mic. We got another caller on line 5.
I was just wondering if you could speak to the role of fear in all of this, right? Like maybe it serves as a catalyst. Maybe it can remove you from certain situations. But can you just speak to the role of fear and how it can maybe motivate you to step into new spaces, rather allowing it for you to like push you into the cubby or the space that you've been for so long. And sometimes it's like you want to get out, you want to be in new spaces, but fear is really what keeps people stagnant. So could you speak to the role of fear in all of this? Anybody or
I was sure about to say cause help. Because fear. Okay, anybody gonna start a line up there if y'all need to? Cause I'm tired.
But no, I just want to speak a little bit about fear. A lot of things in this life, in your lifetime, you're going to have to overcome. A lot of times you're scared of a lot of things, but you got to learn how to overcome it. And I was just listening to you about when you were just talking about as far as listening, because I was having a conversation with my friend last night. And he said we only have one mouth, but we got two ears, and we have two eyes. So a lot of times, even though you don't know how to approach a situation, if you use those two eyes and those two ears and just soak it all in, now you gain the knowledge. Now you can overcome some things because you didn't have it at first. But if you're steady running your mouth, what are you speaking? But if you listen to others, you will gain it. Because one of my philosophies right now is I don't want to know everything.
Right.
But I want to be knowledgeable about many things. The more knowledge you have, the more you can pass on. Now you're breaking fears and you're breaking boundaries. Now you can talk to other people. Now you're comfortable opening up. Now, hi, because I know I look like a mean person. But if you sit down and have a conversation with me, you'll understand the difference. You'll understand what my heart is. But that fear of just approaching, you'll ward off. But sometimes you just overcome those fears, learn, keep going, and pass on the knowledge. And I just want to share that part.
Amen. Come on up to the mic. We got caller on line number 6.
So a lot of the times, I feel like we bet on everything else except ourselves.
Hey.
We'll bet on games. We'll bet on, if this boy is going to call me back and, all these different things. Like, we have so many different things that we bet on, but we never really bet on ourselves.
Yep.
In addition to that, I think that sometimes you have to push yourself out there in the realm of saying, yes, I am scared. Mm-hmm. Yes, there are some possibilities within this scenario that may not work out, but it's more of the chance that you're willing to take and kind of crush it. So, for example, I have been trying and pushing myself when it comes to like a lot of the organizations that I work for. I do like creative stuff.
All things creative.
And I have been trying to get a contract in Chicago with this company for a while, and I was scared. I'm like, I'm brand new, and I really don't know anything, about it. I know that I'm self-taught, and I know that I'm very capable and a fast learner. And they had a position, and I was like, ooh, this is not going to be it, especially with all the qualifications and things that they had. I was just like, you know what? Let's just go for it. Apply for it, interview. They loved me. I ended up getting the job. But besides that, if I didn't do it,
you better get that money, honey.
You already know the vibe. If I didn't do it, I wouldn't have gotten the opportunity. So it just speaks to fear and kind of overcoming it and pushing yourself and knowing who you are as a person and presenting that in the best form. And everybody else will understand it and see it if you see it for yourself.
Right. And so, shout out to Bertel for getting that money in Chicago. Oh, go ahead. Sawyer, can I say something real quick? Because I be forgetting if I don't. I was going to say, as both of y'all was speaking, what came to my mind is to start to use fear as fuel. Fear is a very weak emotion that is tied to something deeper. You're not afraid of this person. You're not afraid of this conversation. You may be afraid that somebody's going to find out that you are envious. You might find out that you might have imposter syndrome. You might be afraid of the actual rejection because deep down in your past somewhere you felt rejected from family or people close to you. So when you experience fear, acknowledge it like, hold on, now I'm a little scared. But what am I actually afraid of? There's an emotion that you're afraid of addressing. It's not necessarily a physical thing. And that's just my belief. If y'all disagree, let me know. But I think that fear is a weak emotion that is tied to something deep down within inside of you that you really have to take the time to analyze. And don't act out of fear, but analyze it. So start to use fear as fuel is what I was going to say.
I 100% agree.
Amen.
And I also, so when it comes to fear and being a weak emotion, like, it's really us that's creating the fear, right? Like, I saw this reel, and we're the only ones standing in the way of us every single day, all the time. I see a pretty girl, I want to talk to her. I'm scared she's not going to want to talk to me. I'm scared, so I'm not going to do it. I want this amazing job. I'm scared I'm going to get rejected. I'm not even going to go for it. I'm scared. And I think so often that fear, and again, it's a completely different emotion, but like it controls us. And so every time I'm afraid of something or scared, I just keep thinking like I don't want someone else to have control over me. And normally like it's me, like it's the two angels, whatnot, or whatever. But like I definitely think it's at the end of the day, it's you. Like it's you are creating the fear because of all the other things underneath. And I just wish, and I'm sure we could all say the same thing, if we could take fear away, how much more we could actually accomplish. Like, we can look at any of our friends out here and know what they're capable of, and they're so scared. They're just standing in their way. And I'm sure as a friend, like, it's so frustrating to watch that. And I just wish, whatever, we could just put that down. I don't know how. Because we know, let's put it down.
Yeah. Put that fear down. That fear got you effed up. And I ain't say the bad word either. Y'all know. But being open-minded makes building easier because you remove limitations. When I'm open to speak to anybody who's an expert at something, I'm removing the limitations of access to information because I don't know what you bring to the table, but I'm willing to find out. That doesn't mean I have to accept everything. And I think sometimes we think that every conversation we have to take something away from it. Sometimes people don't know what the hell they be talking about. And you might not take anything away from the conversation. And that's okay. Now you know not to have a deep conversation with that person because they don't know what they're talking about. So understanding that open your mind removes those limitations. And when you know more, you're able to do more. So when you're having conversations, and when I say know more, I don't mean gain more knowledge. I mean, you're more aware of who people are. So if I'm trying to rectify a situation with someone who is not open-minded, think about the person you tried to have a conversation with, and they just were not open to anything you were saying. It's like you're hitting a wall. But don't walk away from that saying, like, I didn't get anything from that. No, you got the message that you need to go ahead and leave that person on where they're at. So there's always something to take away from it, even if it's like I left this situation, I left this job, I left this relationship with nothing in my hands. You also have to analyze whether or not you were left with something. What are you walking away with? Is it shame? Is it guilt? Is it heartbreak? Is it hurt? Because that's awareness. Now you know that that person cannot give you what you need. So you're never walking away from anything open-handed per se. You just are now gaining an awareness of what that person had to offer. And it may not be what's best for you. Yeah? Being open-minded also provides you with the privilege. And that's the key word there, with the privilege to challenge preconceived notions. So when you are open-minded, you are providing yourself with the privilege to challenge those, well, I was just raised like that. In my house, in my family, we did this. You're challenging that. You have a privilege to challenge that when you say, this is how I was raised, but this sustains me. This is what I grew up seeing and hearing, but this intrigues me. You are challenging those preconceived notions because everything that you were taught isn't necessarily going to match the experience that you have as an individual. The individual that you are is not always going to match the family that you grew up in. And that's not to say that you're not a part of that family. You just got a little bit more like, this is interesting to me. Let me figure it out. So when you open your mind up to new situations, experiences, people, conversations, opportunities, you are now giving yourself the privilege to challenge. I was just raised like that. I ain't never seen that. In my house, we didn't do that. In my house, we couldn't say that. You know what I'm saying? And this reminds me, I'm about to go on a tangent again. So, boom, I was in college, right? And I had this black psychology class, and the professor brought, like, his 10-year-old son in. And he was like, his son started talking. He was 10. And he started cursing. And everybody in the class was like, oh, my, did you just hear what he said? But my professor was like, did he offend anybody? Did he curse at you? Did he make you feel less than? He just said, fuck, this is hard. And he was like, I'll let my son use those words, but what I don't allow my son to do is bring other people down with his words. Because you can tell somebody you are stupid, and that mean more to them, curse word coming, that would be less of an effect on them than, bitch, you look good today. But you telling somebody they're stupid, that's not a curse word. But you made them feel less than. So just opening your mind up to new experience. I'm not telling y'all to have y'all kids out here cussing. That's not. I was just giving an example. But the open-mindedness is what I'm what I'm trying to convey. And so this challenge to our existing beliefs leads to innovation and personal growth. We have to learn to grow as individuals. I don't care what job you have. I don't care who your best friends have been since you were 5 years old. We have the privilege to grow as an individual. LaToya has the privilege to grow into the version of myself that I love. And I can inform and let everybody else adjust, but that is my openness, and that is my oath to myself, is to give myself that space. If I want to try a job, it might not work. You know what I'm saying? I might have a job, and my parents be like, girl, why would you go do that? But my parents also tell me, like, you gonna learn, you gonna figure out what works best for you. So giving that openness to yourself to explore, to build bridges, to talk to people that you might not see, to put yourself in places that you might not know. I've had conversations, I don't know about y'all. I grew up on the south side of Chicago. I seen a whole lot of crackheads. Some of them be real smart. They be giving the best life advice sometimes. Because, I mean, a crackhead who's doing crack told me, and they handy. A drug addict told me not to do drugs. That's great advice. A drug dealer then told me not to sell drugs. But if I was like, this just a drug, I'm not gonna go talk to no crackhead. What you want? Like and then they asked me for a quarter or something to get some chips or something. But the message is that opening myself up to say, what's good, Leroy? Like, what? What you want? And he like, don't be out here doing these drugs. Stay in school. I'm gonna stay in school. I ain't gonna do drugs. So just being open-minded. That was a rough example. But y'all know. You know what I'm saying? If you ain't growing, this is the quote. I thought this was cute. I want y'all to tell me if it's good. If you ain't growing, where you going? Okay. That was good. Okay, I made that up by myself. Okay, sweating my edges out a little bit, but here we are. Y'all, it's a lot of note cards here. I'm about to get through it. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about is biases, okay? So biases are what prevent us from accepting others' viewpoints, not their life decisions or lifestyles. So when we talk about biases, we are not accepting other viewpoints. And that's not to say, like, I'm going to do that. Like, that's the type of life I want to live. It's just like, yo, that worked for you. I'm glad you're happy. Thanks for informing me that there's people out here like that or that think that way. It's not to say, like, you got to switch to this. It's not, I'm not condemning you to hell or anything because you believe differently from me. It's like, yo, if you love it, I like it. If you like it, I love it. There you go. Thanks, Mom. If you like it, I love it. Thank you for making me aware. Addressing bias is essential, and it doesn't happen overnight. So we all carry biases about different peoples, different races, different groups. It's okay. It's all right. You know what I'm saying? Because biases are not something that we, tell me if y'all agree. I don't think that we create biases. I think that we adopted them. Yeah, I said that right. And so it is okay. It's not okay to be biased, but it is okay that we all share them and that you might have an idea of someone when you see them, but you got to know that, like, that's a bias. I don't know that person. I can't project that onto them. You know what I'm saying? That could be true, but it also could not be. You know what I'm saying? Tyrone could snatch my purse, but so could Trevor. You know what I'm saying? Like, so could Jake. And so understanding that bias exists, because this is America, baby. We know America is all types of screwed up in a bunch of different ways. And so we can't remove that. But just understand and aware and be knowledgeable of where your work on what biases you have lies, okay? But walking around saying that you're not biased to anything or anybody, that's a problem. Oh, I thought you was about to come to the mic, girl. Okay. So it takes, when we're dismantling biases, and that's something that I still have biases. You know what I'm saying? I be biased of tall people, cause what you mean you can't play basketball? What you that tall for? I had a student one time. This girl, I met her in the 6th grade. She had to be like, I'm talking about AM. You know what I'm talking about? This girl is tall, like a beautiful girl, and I'm like, you play basketball or you want to be a model, don't you? And she was like, I hate taking pictures. No, I don't want to be a model. And I'm like, you tall and you're pretty. You should be you're a model, girl. And she's like, but that's a bias for tall people, because y'all either playing basketball or y'all being models. I don't care what y'all say. So that's a bias too. And we think about biases and not being open-minded for these huge daunting things, but it's not always that. Like I said, I be biased about tacos. I prefer steak. If you eat chicken tacos, I might side-eye you a little bit, but that ain't none of my business. So going back to bridges, solid bridges, when we build them, they build progressive connections. So building a bridge is progressive. Like, it's not just like foundation, middle part, done. So it's a progressive build. And it's proceeding step by step. And so when we're building bridges, we have to be intentional about each step. Sometimes we might lay a little slab wrong, have to take it up, take it out, and go back and restart. But don't limit yourself to this idea. It's not going to be easy. If you're going to building a bridge thinking it's easy, I'm going to tell you, you're going to have to change it. You got a word? All right. Back on the line, number 5.
Right. So I was wondering if you could maybe speak to, the people. Let me shoot it straight. A lot of times we adopt the biases from family, who we grow up with. That's our parents, the people we love the most.
Yes.
We don't want to offend them. We want to make sure we're being super respectful. How do we handle the relationships once we hit a certain age and we're like, dang, Mom, like, you've been real prejudiced towards this group of people. You've done taught me all this stuff. Like, how do we work on that relationship? How do we check ourselves, and how do we, or should we, have grace in those situations? How do we move with that, right? And how do we figure out if it's a relationship we need to preserve, especially when it's with somebody that we truly care about, or somebody that we, like our parents? What we do with that? That made sense?
That made perfect sense. But Dominique got to answer, because I didn't.
So this is something that I'm really learning, because I am like a face value person, and I am like I will uncousin, unfamily, unfriend. Like, you cross the boundary, I'm done. But what I am learning, especially as it pertains to like your family, is you have to take people for who they are. I know this is what you do. I know you're going to do that. I have to learn how to deal with that and not let that offend me, or not let that get to me, or not let that bother me, because I know that's who you are. My sister gets on my nerves. She not even my sister right now. Honestly.
Dang, free sis.
She not my sister right now.
Okay.
And that's okay. We go through that, every now and again. But I have to learn to take her as she is. Like, I have to be able to step back and know, like, this is not you intentionally doing things to me. It is who you are and how you handle situations. So I have to learn to adapt, and how to handle people with like a long handle spoon. Like, I know you bother me a little bit, so when I handle you, I'm gonna handle you at a reach. I'm not gonna let you get too close. We're not gonna get too personal. I'm not gonna do too much, because I know that after a certain amount of time, you're gonna start to get on my nerves and we're gonna have a problem. So I just have to, keep a distance. So you have to learn how to deal with people, just accept people for who they are, for their shortcomings, for their flaws, because you also have shortcomings and flaws, and people are also accepting you for who you are.
Yep.
So you have to be able to, in return, know how to give that same energy that you want people to give you. That's my TED Talk.
Thank you for coming to our TED Talk. Yes, we need you on the mic. Caller number 9.
All right, so I have a big family. I am the oldest of 7, and then my grandmother had 12 children, so huge family. And what happens is every Sunday we have Zoom calls where all of us are on there and we're just talking. This happens every Sunday. We talk about topics. Sometimes the topics get a little heated. Like Dominique said, I have specific family members who I know for sure who will rock the boat. And you have to be cautious of that. But what I have found helpful, because I'm not really how can I put it, very type of person when it comes to like my feelings, but now I'm challenging myself in the area of challenging my family. If there is something that I don't like, if there is something that makes me uncomfortable, I say it. Going back to what I said earlier, you have to let people know exactly what they're doing and how it's affecting you. Because I think that that brings attention and it makes them think about things that they've never thought about before. In addition to that, like she said, people are people. People are going to be people, but it's what you accept from those people. Now, I'm not willing to accept you talking to me any kind of way, and I'm going to let you know that in a respectful manner. You know, I think sometimes we as people, we get so scared to be able to vocalize and say when we don't like something about someone in lieu of rocking the boat. It's going to come with it. It's going to come with the territory. You have to stand your ground and stand firm on who you are as a person and be okay with that. And if they can't get past that after you've expressed your dismay for whatever may have happened, that's on them. But I think that you still need to say it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, caller number 9. Hi, Amy. I've been waiting to hear from you.
I want to say something about this. My name is Amy, and my experience when we talk about the original question was about like, what do you do with your family members when they don't agree with your viewpoints? I came from a very white community, very non-diverse community, and that also plays into like biases. And I've had lots of discussions with my mom about what it was like for her. And she's very much of the conservative nature. We won't go into what that means, but I think we all know. And so I was doing the math, and I was realizing that I was born in '76, which was right around the women's rights movement. And I was asking her about it. I was like, hey, what was this like for you? Like, was this something of importance to you? And she was like, absolutely not. She was like, because I always had your dad. Like, your dad was there to like sign for the mortgage and the credit cards and all of that. I didn't even need to do that. I just didn't even care about it. And we've had lots of discussions about like women's rights and how she's like, I don't believe in abortion. I don't believe in X, Y, and Z. And for a very long time, I was very resentful to my mom. And we did not get along, and we fought a lot. And I felt like she was trying to hold me back in a lot of ways because ultimately she was holding me back because in her era, what I wanted to do wasn't available for women. And she knew, you know, I've learned this through lots of therapy, that she was holding me back because if I did what she really wanted to do, it would prove to her that she could have done it and didn't. And she did not want to see that. She also didn't want to see me get hurt. She didn't want to see me get rejected. She saw probably what the world did to women around her at that time that wanted to do things that were progressive. And I look at my life now, and I'm still growing in terms of creating more diversity in my life, and that's still a goal of mine. But when I look at my relationship with my mom, how I look at it is that she is actual proof of the progress that we've made as a community, as a world at whole. And do I wish that our world would be much further along when it comes to our integration? Yes, absolutely. But at least she provides proof. I can't condemn her for how she is. I can just acknowledge that and see that as progression of where our world has moved and how far we can move moving forward. So, yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Y'all so smart.
That's making me thinking about generational like curses and things that you have within your family, especially when you have those people who are a little bit more on the conservative side, like or of the older generation. You know, they have a very set mindset to where this is what I'm used to, this is what I'm doing. There's no wavering from that. But I think us, as being a younger generation, we have
Okay, everybody. All right. So, I know you all have to transition, so that's fine if you have to. We're wrapping up soon. So yeah, we'll be here. Thanks y'all for joining. Um, Okay, look, y'all better promo. So, I believe you all scanned the code up there. So that's my website. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, you can join my newsletter, and I send out information there. You can listen to my podcast on all streaming platforms, and then I also have a journal that I created. So there's a link to buy that on the website as well, and it goes with the podcast. So that's the journal. So I would love to connect with you all. Hit me up on Instagram, Universal Tees. Let me know it was you that was here. And I'll give y'all a shout out. Shout out to Carroll University for being here. And then, thank you. I appreciate it. Yes. You need a hug. Come on. Come on. Yes, baby. Yes, girl. That's okay.
Look, we're going to get some extra love up in there.
You get the family group hug. But we not done. We still recording. Chase. Oh.
I'm sorry, y'all.
It's okay. All right.
You making this round.
Chat. Oh, Lord. Say hi to my dad.
Say hey. Come on.
Oh, check.
We can't play with this stuff. That's not a toy. Okay?
All right. All right. Look, bring it back. All right. We almost done. So, this section is about the part y'all probably been waiting on, which is burning bridges. Because y'all be ready to cut somebody off. So, burning bridges. It's when you do something which forces you, and this is burning bridges, to continue. Sorry, when you do something which forces you to continue with a particular course of action, it makes it impossible for you to return to an earlier situation or relationship. So when you burn the bridge, ain't no way on God's green earth that you gonna get crossover. Ain't no way. Okay? And what I came up with though, because people be like, yeah, I'm gonna cut you off, I'm gonna cut him off, everybody get cut off. It ain't nothing to cut that off. Yeah. We yeah. But I said that when we burn bridges, because sometimes it takes work, I said we burn bridges because of others, but it saves us. Right. Mm-hmm. So we burn bridges with jobs, friendships, Here's one: mindsets. Romantic relationships, families, lifestyles, diets, and habits. So you can burn bridges with all of those. And remember, when we burn bridges, we can burn bridges because of others, but to save ourselves. So you might need to burn that Chitlin Bridge to save. No shade, Daddy. You can still. Okay, after this Thanksgiving, Daddy, you could burn the Chitlin Bridge. But you might need to burn some bridges in your diets, in your mindset, to get you to the other side, to get you to a better version of yourself. And so, in order to know when you need to burn a bridge with good intention, you must first have some boundaries, because sometimes we are not very. We don't have good reason to burn bridges, but once you have to have boundaries first, because I think it is good practice to burn a bridge when your boundary is crossed, but that boundary has to also be communicated. So Jerry be telling me all the time that I change my mind about stuff, and I update stuff in my mind, and I update my boundaries, and I don't tell nobody. And then they cross this invisible boundary, and I be like, well, I'm done, because she actually pissed me off, and she had me messed up, and she's like, but did she know that? Didn't you used to do that with her before? Like, didn't you used to allow that? And it be like, well, she should have known. I changed. And it like, you didn't tell nobody you changed. So, right, So you should know, but when you are burning bridges, it's because somebody crossed the boundary with you that you communicated with them, because they'll mess up sometimes, and sometimes you don't even know you need the boundary until it gets crossed. So you can't blame somebody for crossing a boundary they didn't even know was there. Like, duh. Like, you put an invisible cloak on your boundary. Who does that? But you absolutely must burn them when you need to, and don't play about you. Don't play about you, because people will play about you. People will play with you as long as you allow them to. And I promise you, when you stand on that boundary, when you stand on that change in lifestyle opinion, somebody going to be upset. It's all right. Would you rather them be upset and uncomfortable, or you trying to please them? They might, but if they burn the bridge because you set a boundary, you ain't need them on your bridge anyway, to be honest. I'm sorry, you don't have no Wi-Fi connection. Step to the mic, brother. Sure. Everybody. Y'all over here doing the hokey pokey.
All right, we gonna stop playing jump rope, because I don't know how to jump double dutch. But we gonna be okay. But it's going back to, like you said, setting those boundaries, and it's just from experience. Sometimes you gotta set boundaries within yourself, and like if you work any job, it's policies, it's laws. Mm-hmm. So the boundaries, why not put these laws and policies within yourself? What you gonna stand for, what you're not gonna tolerate, but at the same time, like you say, do it respectfully, regardless of who it is. But if they step over those boundaries, keeping your foot down firm. I've had some friends 25 years in with. I set my foot down firm on the boundaries, what I would not accept, how I move, and what I'm not about to do. If you can't honor and respect that, these the morals I have within myself. So I don't need you around me. I don't need you in my space. But one thing you got to do, be for real at all times. Be for real with yourself, but in an unselfish act. And when you do that, most people, I'm not going to say everybody's going to fall in line, but you're going to always respect yourself. You're never going to lose yourself. But you're going to be okay. Like you said, you want to be happy with yourself, or you trying to please them. It's about your happiness at the end of the day. And like I said, just do it respectfully, and like you say, always keep your foot down firm.
Yep. The only person you need to be afraid of losing is you.
Yeah.
Next up on the caller line.
I have a co-host. So something I've learned about my boundaries recently is boundaries. When I don't set them, and then people cross them, and I don't say anything, I lash out at people. I'm really angry. I'm really people that don't deserve me to lash out at them.
Mhm.
Road rage. I'm angry at every car on the road. And then all of a sudden I'm like, wow, why am I so mad at everyone? And it's usually because I allowed someone to cross a boundary that either I didn't communicate or I just allowed someone to cross a boundary. And I think as we grow, yeah, exactly.
Yup, exactly.
As we grow, we create different boundaries. Like you said, all of a sudden you're like, well, I don't act this way anymore. And that's really hard for people to understand. Like, well, you always used to be okay with that. And that's even hard for me to say, like, yeah, exactly. I used to accept this, but now I don't accept it anymore. So I think that's the hard part. Yeah, that's the hard part, buddy. High five.
Exactly. He said, yep. Go ahead. I hope you say the famous Covey quote.
Hey y'all. So when it comes to boundaries, I know I say this a lot, but I have a universal tease. I have a universal code for everybody.
Go
the
ahead.
expectation that I have of my friends, I have of my mate, I have of my mother, I have of my family. I'm not going to expect you to respect me, but then allow disrespect from other people.
Mm-hmm.
So my boundaries are universal. So I'm saying all that to say, if you tell people what your boundaries are, they will rise to what it is that you want them
Yep.
to meet. Otherwise, you're just going through life accepting whatever it is people offer you. So I'm saying all that to say, express, speak up.
Mm-hmm.
Because words left unsaid
I left what?
will be screaming in your head.
And there it is there. Look, we've been stealing that quote for about 2 years now.
Hey, that's the one though.
That's the one.
That's the one. Will be left in your head. Yes.
Covey. Yep. Right.
Hey. No, you gotta be real with it.
Yes, move that hair out the way.
I want to say, you also have to be cognizant of the season that you're in.
Yes. Come on, because the season's changing right now.
And
Tell
that's
us
what I'm
about
saying.
it.
So when you think about the season that you're in, we
Uh-huh.
need different things within those seasons.
And do.
In that first season, you may have been accepting of everything. You may have been like, okay, I'm taking whatever is coming my way.
Might have been all skate.
That next season, you start to put a little bit more boundaries in there. You like, okay,
Uh-huh.
I don't like this one right here.
Uh-huh.
I can't do this again. Then that third one, and you really in your bag, and you really treading forward,
Yep.
and you really standing 10 toes down,
Mm-hmm.
and people cannot get it, that's okay too. That's okay too. But it's going to be so much more worth it for yourself in the end versus you accepting those things from those people, and then you're doing more damage to yourself and retracting from the healing that you're trying to do and move forward. So think about that season, and if they ready for that season, get them up out of here.
Okay. Hey, Ma. Oh, you waving at Facebook. Okay. So bridges sometimes need to be burned when boundaries are crossed that were communicated. Okay? And so to round us out, this is the one that takes a little bit more gump. Is that a word? I like it. Gumption. Gumption. Okay. And that one is when you need to repair bridge. Oh, because y'all thought y'all was perfect. That's what y'all... Amen. The Holy Ghost got him. Let him use you, baby. So I also think we forget to talk about repairing bridges. We are humans. We mess up. We cross people's boundaries. We miscommunicate with people. We fail to communicate with people. We are sometimes absent when people needed us. Sometimes it's unintentional. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was just dealing with life, but life caused you to mistreat somebody who cared about you. So you got to do some repairing. And so when I talk about repairing bridges, it takes honesty for the damage that you have caused. I was messed up. I did you wrong. I hurt you. You don't get to say, it wasn't that bad. Like, if somebody hurt you, you don't get to say, like, whatever, like, you tripping. You get to say, I'm sorry I hurt you. That wasn't my intention. Let's talk about how we can repair this. It takes honesty. And you have to be aware of what deep inside of you is broken or hurting that caused you to do this same thing to people you care about. Because even though it wasn't your intention to hurt somebody, I've hurt people unintentionally. And then when I reflect on why, it's because I was hurting, so I didn't care about anybody else. I wasn't hurting somebody for fun. So now when I'm all happy and healed and I'm ready to go back to that relationship, they like, nah. And I'm like, what you mean? I'm better now. And they like, but now I'm not better because of you. So you need to be able to say, I messed up, friend, bae, sis, bro, ma. I messed up. I acknowledge what I did to you. How can I fix it? But what sucks about this is sometimes people are like, actually, I'm good on you. And that's what's messed up. And then that's when you have to go in and repair the bridge within yourself. And now you know what type of planks and what type of tools to use on the next bridge you build for that type of relationship. But y'all don't get to say, you don't get to make the decision for somebody to forgive you. You just have to extend sincere apology for an acknowledgement for your wrongdoing. Because you have to understand that as humans, we are always projecting. Always. Whatever you feel right now, whatever energy you have, you're projecting that, whether it be peace, frustration, anger, happiness, joy, fear, envy. You're always projecting. And so knowing that, one, shows you how to deal with people when they come at you crazy, and two, makes you more aware of how you approach people. We are always projecting our perception, or not our perception, but how we feel into the world. And so when you repair bridges, you cannot don't let your ego get in the way of your progress. Because an inflated feeling of pride in your makes you feel like you're superior to others. Like, yo, I don't even know, like, I got this or I did this for you, and you just complaining about this one thing I said. That one thing that you said might have hurt them more than everything that you did. You don't get to say, that's your ego. You wish somebody would have said or done something for you that you were doing, but that's not what that person needed. So now you're letting your ego get in the way, because it's like, my intention, well, you saying that I didn't come home last night. You saying that I didn't pick up the kid, but you know what I'm saying? I'm at work every day. But I need you to be a parent. You better be at work. You at work, honestly, because you want some new Amiri shirts. That's what the people be wearing. That's a designer, Amiri. That's not it. Not the little Amiri. Yup. Because you wanted that. Because you out here trying to look fly for these other women. That's why you at work. What I need you to do is say, babe, I'm about to come pick up the kids for the day. Don't even worry. I don't know what you got to do. I don't care if you don't got nothing to do. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, call it number 9.
What if, like, my pride be deep in it sometimes.
Insane.
Like, and when I say, like, I'm a Cancer at heart, like, deep down, I'm a Cancer. Like, if you said something to me, I'm feeling it on the inside. I may not say it to you right away, but I'm feeling it. And
I'm going to act like it.
I give you a little side eye. My energy a little different.
Yup.
You know, I think over the course of the years, I've gotten so much better in that element, but it still doesn't stop me from feeling the same way. Like, feeling like, okay, since you wronged me, I feel like I want to get my lick back there. You know, like, so.
So why do you feel like you need to?
Uh-oh.
Because for me,
Boo-bop.
I'm not there now, but when I was there, it was more so, you're not about to play in my face. Like, it's one of those things, like, you intentionally, a lot of times people intentionally know what they're doing to you.
Yeah.
Intentionally. So when you react and you give them the reaction that they were looking for, and it's more.
But that goes back to boundaries, too, I feel like.
If it wasn't intentional, I would be able to understand if it wasn't intentional, because I would take that person's personality, who they are as a person, wholeheartedly as I see them throughout.
But I think that's subjective, because when you think you know a person or whatever you dealing with in yourself, you might feel like it was intentional, but it might have really not been intentional.
I'm talking about based off of what they show me, not based off of like me thinking like. And
But a lot of
perceiving.
times it's what we think. Like we were just talking about fear. Fear is what you think.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it is what you think. So the good part about having those brave conversations is that when you have the conversation, you get to know if the person was being intentional or not. Because you can know just through dialogue of how they're responding to your answers if they were on bull or not on bull, if they were being intentional or not. That's why I think it is always good to double back and have those conversations, because without the conversation,
intentionally doing that shit.
But also, like we talked about projection, like we're bringing our own shit into that.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I know
Absolutely.
that, but I think that like what you're saying with like having those direct conversations will clear it out. Like we all know we have family members. We're like we know what they're trying to do. We know what they're trying to do. We're gonna react. But sometimes they've changed, they've evolved, and we didn't know that.
And sometimes it's them as a person, like I said, when you know who people are, you know that that's that person. So not that they're intentionally trying to push your button, they just do things that push your button.
So for example,
Because that's who they are at face value.
listen, you know I love a good
So I don't
debate.
get too personal.
For example, in our friend circle, sometimes we have
Yes,
moments.
we do.
You know,
All the time.
We
all
do.
the time. We have moments that we like, listen, you was doing too much, or we felt like you was coming on too strong. And maybe at that time, it's not the right time to have that conversation with that person because they won't be receptive. They won't be receptive, and then you still feeling like, okay, well, I still need to have that conversation, but I know that this person, when I'm ready to have that conversation, is still not going to be ready for that conversation. That's harder than saying, okay, well, yes, I'm going to have that conversation. I'm ready to have it if that person is ready. But a lot of the times, we as people, we still are not ready for those conversations. And even when we do, we still have a hardened heart or a defense or a shield up. So it doesn't work. So sometimes it doesn't. But at the same time,
You're able to get your stuff off that you need to get off.
now, like I said, I'm going to say my stuff.
Say your piece.
I'm going to say my stuff. Now, as an adult, as a fully grown man, I think younger me would have been like, okay. But now, growing up and going throughout life and seeing everything at my age, I'm 34 years old. Now, I done seen, I done been through it. I know exactly what's going on. You know, so when I see somebody and I see their actions, I take it for face value.
Right.
Face value. It's not like my perception of it. I'm looking exactly at what you're doing,
Yep.
at what you're doing and what you choose to convey in the world, and that's what I'm receiving. It's not me making a preconceived notion of who you are.
Right.
It's exactly what you're showing me, and that's what I base it off.
Yeah.
And can
Yeah.
I say that?
You could say it.
Too, I feel like, understanding how people are, like actions speak louder than words.
Every time.
Like sometimes when people do certain things, you don't need to necessarily have a conversation. Some people are better at with their mouth than they are with showing up
Yep.
in spaces. So you're gonna reveal to me who you are by doing what you do more than a conversation. You're not getting nowhere.
Let people
and
be them.
sometimes silence is enough.
Yep.
We don't need to. Sometimes, like you said, the bridge just needs to be burned, and silence is gonna teach you more of a lesson than my words could ever do. Life is gonna
Because
show
you
you
use
more than I
people
can
get
tell
used to
you.
your words.
Exactly. Life is gonna show you more than I can tell you.
Yep.
You're gonna continue to end up in the same life traps, in the same situations. I don't need to waste any of my breath.
Yep.
You're gonna find people who are for you. You're gonna find people who really and truly champion like who you are as a person. Exactly. Silence is. It's not always toxic.
Yep.
That's what you needed.
Yep.
So
Yep.
silence is.
So I do have a follow-up question.
Uh-oh.
We were talking about with people showing their actions, and they're like, I'm believing your actions.
Yes.
Okay, so just using this from like a very surface level, not to get too deep, with like family.
Go ahead. Go deep.
Right.
Sister, well, I mean, it could go high and low.
Yeah.
But someone's doing something, and I'm seeing that action. Do you think when does it make sense to get curious about that action and ask more deeper questions? Like for instance,
When it's
my
repeated.
sister-in-law, like
When it's your
she
business.
is like, okay,
I'm sorry, when it's your business, that's
well,
when
when it
that's when you get
impacts
involved. Because
Well,
I think
so
sometimes.
it's like, my mom's visiting, and this is just a real life scenario. My mom's visiting. They go to my mom and they say, "Hey, we're gonna do this." They never come to me. It impacts me because of my schedule, and they don't ever come to me. And as someone that knows their history, I know what they've done before. I'm making all of these assumptions. I'm making all these stories up in my mind about how they're trying to screw me and intentionally try to impose on me. They're going behind my back because
you know how to move.
That situation.
But I also think that you have to know the person that you're dealing with. Like, because some people are not ready to have a mature conversation. Some people are not ready for you to divulge their full feelings and give it to 100% raw, just straight to the point. You know, some people are like, this too much for me, and then they, like I said, the defense go back up. And you like, I tried. So I'm just gonna leave it at that, and I'm just gonna move on. So you have to know exactly who you're dealing with, and if you are able to have those type of conversations, because everybody is not willing, and everybody is not able.
But I feel like before you know who you're dealing with, a lot of the time is we don't know ourselves. Like we don't know how we're gonna move in a situation. Like sometimes what you gotta realize is like what this person did harmed me. I gotta ask why I'm harmed, why what they did triggered me. Figuring that out first, that's good. We have to learn to trust ourselves. Once you can get settled with something in yourself, that's when it's like, okay, now I can go handle this. Because sometimes somebody triggered you, and it's low key has nothing to do with them, it has everything to do
Yeah.
with you. So, I think prerequisite to what you just said is knowing yourself first before you go in and try to handle somebody. But
There's nothing wrong with shutting them out.
Yep.
For the better good of you.
yeah,
That's just my opinion. Because you made an attempt to resolve that situation. Like you say, everybody's not adult enough to have that conversation. But you made the attempt to address the situation. They not ready. Okay, let me step over here. You stay over there. Sooner or later, they going to double back. Oh, you don't hang with me. Why you don't talk to me no more? Why is it? So now they ready to listen. That's that opportunity. Now they ready to listen to what
Yep.
you got to say. They weren't ready at that time.
Yep.
By you stepping away, now they want it.
Gotta come up for air.
And if they don't double back, then that's how we just know that bridge was
There it is there. There it is there. Our hearts and minds clear. I got one no card left. But as y'all can see, like these are never my conversations. I just create the space for them. And so when we talk about repairing bridges, I put together a little formula. Right? So boom. So when you want to repair a bridge when you were wrong or you did wrong by someone, the first thing that you should do is have awareness of the damage you've caused. That's step one. Accountability for your wrongdoing. Where was I wrong? Whether you believe what you did was wrong or not. The wrong is that you hurt them. And so like they are gonna tell you what you did wrong. You have to have accountability for that. And then the action to repair, which can be hard conversations, which can be apologies, changes in actions, consistency, or reassurance for that person. So that's my formula for repairing bridges is awareness, accountability, and action. I can. And so because none of us are perfect and we all messed up, and you also have to, this is the hardest pill to swallow, they may not want to mess with you again, but that's okay. Because that means that they just weren't for you. And that's a hard thing to accept. I don't have a formula for accepting that, but but that's what it is, okay? And so that's where I wanted to end this conversation, even though it's given, what I call this episode, Beautiful Bridges Part 3. Y'all snapped. No, I'm saying the conversation making it seem like it need to be a 3. This need to be a Building Bridges workshop. Y'all might be on to something. Speaking of workshops, so boom, y'all get the first little bit of tea for what's next for universities. So, I just secured a second space to host events at. So we are growing and expanding. So starting in November, I haven't decided the day, but on Thursday evenings, we're going to have a little evening vibe. From about like 5 to 9, 6 to 9, I'm going to be hosting live events, kind of like this in a more intimate space at Concoctions on Brady Street, which is a Black-owned like bar. So if you all are free, be on the lookout. However, I am doing something that I'm calling ghost marketing for that event. So only people who are texted a link to RSVP will be invited, and you all will be responsible for posting the flyer on social media because I will not. So I'm doing ghost marketing. And there will also be a signature drink there, too. So the first couple of people to post that flyer and tag Universal Teas will get free drinks. So I won't be promoting it. If y'all rock with me, y'all going to be the ones to tell the people to come out. So with that being said, I love y'all. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Universal Teas. Shout out to everybody on Facebook Live.